Yeah, so Sean, we're happy to have a conversation with you. We have, Cybersecurity Awareness Month coming up here in the month of October. And who better than a former independent agent and current cybersecurity professional for us to chat with about, the importance of cybersecurity. So Sean, I'd love for you to just kind of introduce yourself and tell us about your firm and the services you provide and who your clients are.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Sean Rhudy. I started Enhanced Computing Solutions almost 20 years ago now. So I've been doing this for a long time. We're a team of 15 people. We provide IT and cybersecurity services, mostly to small and medium-sized businesses. My tagline is we help them support, manage, and secure their technology. We have a help desk for users to call when they have issues. We have our suite of cybersecurity services. We have cybersecurity experts. Most of our clients are between 5 and 500 users, and I know that's a vast difference. Smaller than that, they usually don't have the resources for the cybersecurity that we sell. And larger than that, they may have a full-time IT person. Some of our top verticals are healthcare, professional services, law firms, and financial services.
Nice. Awesome. So with those employees, or I guess the users, the 5 to 500 users, what does like an onboarding process look like? 'Cause it's a vast number, right? So how does the onboarding look for someone who's got five users versus 500?
Yeah, we have an automated process that helps us a lot, but we have a documented 30-day onboarding process. Usually doesn't take longer than that. We've had situations where we had to do it quicker than that, just because that's what it called for. But we put a lot of effort into developing that process because we think it's obviously extremely important to provide our help desk and our team with as much information as possible so they can properly support the client. On the security side, you can't secure what you can't see. So it's important to make sure we have a full picture of that environment. We start by asking for an introduction to the current IT provider, if there is one. We send over an information packet that asks for all the information that we need, passwords, etc. We set up all the necessary accounts, services during the onboarding. We schedule the cutover and prepare the clients for the change. And then on the cutover day, we make sure the previous IT provider doesn't have access anymore. So it's a very documented and specific process that we follow.
Awesome. Awesome. So in that process, what are some of the biggest vulnerabilities that you see with some of these businesses that you work with, large and small?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most common is definitely going to be business email compromise. That's the one we see. I mean, we get calls daily from potential new clients that their email has been hacked. We also get emails from companies that are not our clients, and we can tell they were hacked because we can tell it came from their actual email address. So we'll usually have our marketing and sales team reach out to them and let them know and see if they want to have a conversation. But small organizations usually have less protections in place to protect against business email compromise and to limit the severity of it. For example, a small organization may not have MFA or two-factor set up. It may not be enforced. So the attacker just needs a password. Obviously, if we onboard a new client and they don't have MFA set up, that's actually a hard requirement for us. We will not support an account that does not have MFA.
Okay.
System. Even if they do have MFA enforced, they may not have additional layers of security, like certain policies to prevent logging in from other countries, blocking older, less secure authentication methods. If a smaller organization does have a business email compromise, they may not have a tool to monitor suspicious activity in real time to prevent further damage. So that's what we see in the smaller size.
Okay. So did you say you get emails from businesses that you don't work with that have been compromised, and you use that to reach out to say, hey, we noticed you've been compromised, and you can kind of offer them your services then, right?
Yep. Every day. Yeah.
Incredible.
We got a nonprofit in Southern California yesterday, and I sent the contact information to my salesperson, and she's going to give them a call.
Wow. All right. A little different than insurance, right? I mean, we deal with, if someone has a claim, we don't want them calling us just yet. But yeah, if someone's been hacked, it's certainly a great opportunity for you to kind of swoop in and help them out with their security. So
exactly. Yep.
All right. Awesome. So what do you think the top three cyber risk businesses are facing today?
Definitely. I mean, business email compromise, number one, which comes along with ACH fraud, which I'm sure you hear about all the time. Basically, they get into your email, they look for recent or current projects. Anytime there's money being sent back or forth one way or the other, they inject themselves into that conversation. They hide any responses so the user can't see that the communication is happening. And they say, oh, hey, don't send it to this account. We had a problem with it. Send it to this bank account. And it works. I mean, we've seen $750,000 got transferred to a bank in Nigeria. That happened to a business. They're usually large amounts, 50,000, 100,000. So they keep doing it because it works.
Wow.
Of course, ransomware. What a lot of people don't realize is even if you do have backups, the first thing a hacker does when they deploy ransomware is before they deploy it, is they look for your backups. They want to destroy your backups because they know if they get your backups, you have to pay the ransom. It's good practice, best practice to keep your backups on a separate system so the attackers can't get to it. And then thirdly, I would say social engineering, which is kind of a way to get into systems, but they're going to look on your LinkedIn, your social media. They're going to find out on the dark web if you use, Southwest, if you use, Bank of America, they're going to find these things out so they can tailor those emails, to you so that you have a higher chance of falling for it.
Yeah. I think then you kind of answered the next question then. So, right now, have you seen a rise then in the ransomware and the phishing incidents among your clients and businesses?
Yes, yeah, definitely. There's been, I mean, I forget the stats, but like 100% year over year in phishing attempts. The attackers are starting to use AI, just like everything in the world. There's people that use things for good and people that use things for bad. And, the attackers are using AI to pull information from social media and use that to tailor those emails easier. So they're making them more personal. We've been fortunate to not have any of our fully managed clients get ransomware, knock on wood. But we do get contacted from other companies that aren't clients to help, after the fact. So the numbers may vary slightly depending on what article you read, but an article I read the other day said that ransomware attacks were up 123% in the last 2 years. And 40% of them started from a business email compromise.
Wow.
And then 29% of all businesses or business email compromises resulted in ACH fraud with an average loss of $106,000. So,
Oh my.
Yeah, and it's just getting worse and worse every year, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So you talk about that. So, those are the things that are happening. You talked about the three big things. So how do these attacks typically impact businesses that just aren't prepared whatsoever and think, oh, this will never happen to me?
Yeah, well, first of all, a lot of small businesses think it won't happen to them because they're too small. I always tell people that, and if you look at the stats, small businesses are the most attacked because the attackers know they don't have to try as hard because they're probably going to have less protections in place. The other thing I hear a lot is, oh, well, we're plumbers, so why would the hackers care about our data? You're right. They may not care about your data, but they know that you care about your data. So if you lost your QuickBooks file and all the data in it and all the backups of it, and you lost all of your client records, all your processes that you use to train your employees, everything, if you lost all of that, they know that you would pay the ransom to get it back. So it doesn't matter if you're not in financial services or you're not in healthcare. And if it is just company data, it's still something that the attackers know is important to you, and they're still going to go after it. But as far as how it impacts businesses, I actually pulled this information. I have a presentation that I give to businesses, and I have a slide exactly for this. So you have your downtime and recovery. So you won't be able to provide your service or your product to your clients while you're dealing with a cyber attack until that's mitigated or fixed, and services are restored. And depending on the severity of the attack, that can be weeks. It just depends on if you have backups, if you don't, where the backups are, how long it takes to restore everything. So you could be without your service for weeks and not be able to make money in your business. Then you have potential legal fees. So you'll probably need an attorney to help handle any notification requirements. If personal information was involved for your employees or your clients, then obviously an attorney is going to need to help you navigate that. Then you have your reputation. Imagine if you're a small business in a community and you have a major breach. Would people in the community be as inclined to come shop at your store or do business with you if they know that their credit card may not be safe or their information may not be safe? So that's a big one that a lot of people don't think about, because you can clean up an attack, but the reputation is still going to be there, or the attack on your reputation is still going to be there. Then you have fines. All 50 states have laws regarding personal information, PII. Most come with fines. You have PCI compliance that protects credit card data. So if that's involved, you may have a fine for that. You have HIPAA to protect healthcare. So again, possible fine there. If you're a contractor or subcontractor for the federal government or on any federal jobs, you have CMMC compliance, which is newer. And all that comes with fines if you have a breach, potentially.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have specialists. You have to bring in people like us to recover and cost there. So there can be a large cost involved in a breach.
Yeah. Yeah, huge costs, and kind of it's a great transition to this next question. Again, so former independent, former insurance agent, current cybersecurity professional, so why should businesses consider cyber insurance as a part of their cybersecurity protection?
So no, there isn't a single network in the world that is 100% protected. All we can do is help you reduce the risk. And that's what insurance does as well, right? It transfers risk. So you have smoke detectors and fire extinguishers in your house. You abide by fire code when making, home improvements, but you still have that fire insurance in case something, happens. And that's the exact reason every business should have cyber liability insurance. That's that last line of defense in case something happens.
Yeah, that's something we try to explain to our customers, because you mentioned the reputational harm. There's coverage, for, getting that reputation back in place. There's the coverage for the attorney's fees. There's the coverage for the forensic analysis. There's the coverage for the social engineering. And you mentioned the downtime, so that the loss of income that business is going to experience. So definitely super critical for businesses to consider. Like you said, even if they think they're not a target because, they're not a typical risk for a cyber criminal, they really can be. So awesome.
Exactly right.
So we deal with that all the time, the customer that says, I don't need it. So what do you think some of the big misconceptions are that business owners have about the cyber insurance? Like, why is there hesitancy outside of them thinking this won't happen to me?
Sure. So I have two things that I hear a lot. One is, why do I need cyber liability insurance if I have you? And I refer back to my last statement that, there isn't a company in the world that's completely protected. There's only the amount of risk you're willing to accept as a company by not having certain protections in place. So, if an IT, I've never heard an IT person say this, but if an IT firm tells you you're 100% protected and you have no risk, it's just not true. Like I said, even the companies that spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year on IT and cybersecurity are still getting hacked. So, you can't sell a house that is completely fireproof, I assume. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
There's
the
always
Titanic
risk.
was unsinkable, right, Sean?
Exactly. So, yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that's the first thing I hear. And the second thing I hear is, if I do have cyber insurance, why do I need to install all this security? And obviously, if you don't have certain protections in place, you're not insurable. So that's where we can come in and help. We get that application. There's a lot of questions on it. We make sure A, it's accurate, and B, it's you have those protections in place to make you insurable and hopefully reduce the rate if you have certain things in place.
Yeah, excellent. I think that really kind of covered the next question, with how do your services complement cyber insurance policies? Like you said, we as agents, we have to ask underwriting questions. Do you have multi-factor authentication? Do you have these securities in place? And those are things that customers can work with you on. But I guess I'll ask you, have you had a client that has, and without naming names, that has had a cyber event, and you were able to collaborate with them and work through that with a cyber liability policy where you were able to kind of help them recover and get their business back up and running?
Yep. Yeah. So, and we deal with, we call it post-breach analysis. We deal with that quite often. The one that stands out to me is a small law firm in Maryland. They weren't a client of ours, but we were asked to do that post-breach assessment to help them secure their environment. I believe there were around 15 total employees, so not a huge business by any stretch. They had an email server in their office, and it hadn't been patched with a specific update that fixed a very specific vulnerability, and an attacker used that vulnerability to spread ransomware on their network. They put a claim into their insurance company. The insurance company brought a team in to assess and remediate and make recommendations. They helped with all the client notifications. Uh, what else did they do? The claim was a total of $1 million.
Wow.
So think about that. A 15-person law firm would have had to pay, if they did it properly, $1 million out of their pocket had they not had this coverage. Then, unfortunately, a short time after that, they got ransomware again and put another claim in. And now they're actually not insurable. They can't find cyber insurance now. They had two claims, close to each other. But no, the insurance was, it saved them. I had another situation where the potential client did not have cyber liability insurance. They had ACH fraud. $750,000 got transferred. The only thing that would have saved them is cyber liability insurance, and they didn't have it. There's no other insurance that's going to cover that. Typical business insurance doesn't help you there. And unfortunately, you only have a few days after a wire transfer to pull it back. It had been 45 days. So that money was gone. So now, they're in a legal battle with the person that sent the money on whose fault it was, and it's just a mess. And again, this was a 20-person company, not, this isn't a massive company. So, $750,000 was, a large amount of money for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, then, kind of loop back a little bit to your onboarding process, so you seem to think that the cyber liability insurance is important. Is that kind of advising kind of happening on that onboarding process as well? Is that a part of, like, when you talk to them, hey, is that a question? Do you have cyber liability insurance? Have you considered cyber liability insurance? And is that something that you review with them?
It is. It's one of our questions. We make sure we know what they need to be compliant with. In our documentation, we document what protections they have in place if they have cyber liability, because we need to know, obviously they filled out an application for that insurance and they checked certain boxes, and we weren't their partner at that time. So we want to make sure we see that application and we know what they said they had. And I would say 95% of the time, it's not filled out properly. And we say, hey, you said you're doing this. Let's go ahead and just put that in place so you're okay. A lot of times it wasn't done on purpose. It's just that they try to fill out themselves. And, it has things like, do you have EDR? And most people that are not in IT and cybersecurity don't know what that means. So, they do their best to fill it out, and, we just check it over, make sure that they're doing everything they said they were doing.
Yeah. What is EDR, Sean?
Endpoint detection and response.
Okay.
Then you have MDR, managed detection and response, which is kind of the monitoring on top of that. It's kind of like the new antivirus.
That's awesome that you review their underwriting application, because, again, if they unintentionally misrepresent, the features that they have in place, that would entitle, I guess, an insurance company to deny a claim, right?
Sure, exactly. With any type of insurance, that's going to happen. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know we've touched on it a little bit, but again, what final advice would you have for those business owners that just come to you and say, or come to an agent and say, you know what, I really think you're wrong. I'm not going to be, a target of a cyber criminal. I don't need cyber liability insurance, or, in your case, they don't need your services. What would you say to them?
So I would ask them if they think car insurance and home insurance is important, because I think cyber liability insurance is just as important as that. If your business has a cyber attack, there is nothing else and no one else that will help you recover from that financial loss. The cost to the small law firm I mentioned would have been $1 million. Is that a risk you're willing to take on?
Yeah. Awesome.
And I don't sell the insurance, but from our insurance and what I see, it's a very affordable policy. So it's super critical to have.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Sean, I really appreciate it again. Enhanced Computing Solutions, correct?
That's it. Yep.
And you're in Maryland, and any other locations?
We have a physical office in Orlando as well, and we have contracted clients in 34 states.
Okay. Yep. Awesome.